Lion's Claw Asher War, pretty good, but do you know what they did to this Asher War in the DLC? They made it even better! Hello everyone, hope you're having a wonderful day, and today guys we're going to be going over a pretty disgusting build that absolutely destroys the base game and also the new Elden Ring DLC. Build that utilizes both Frost build-up and also the new Asher War Savage Lion's Claw, which is pretty friggin' strong, and for that reason I've decided to call this build the Savage Ice Lion. So we've all come to know and love the Lion's Claw Asher War from the base game, but FromSoft thought, hang on a minute, that's not good enough. We need to add a better and stronger version into the DLC, and that's exactly what they've done. I guess we can't complain too much because this Asher War does seem like it's kind of broken. And I thought what better way to utilize this Asher War than to slap it on the new great Katana weapon that is also found in the DLC. So what makes this build so enjoyable to play? Well, we have some absurd damage courtesy of the Savage Lion's Claw Asher War. We're able to get up to 4 to 7k damage. I have seen upwards of like 11, 14k, but either way it's absolutely absurd damage. You pretty much deleting most elites, even the really strong endgame elites in the DLC with this Asher War. We have some amazing reach with the Great Katana, and the Asher War is no stranger to clearing distance and smacking the enemy on the head as well. So no enemy is safe from this weapon if you know how to use it correctly. And to add on top of that point as well, the way that the Great Katana actually swings and slides, you have fantastic cleave and AoE. If you're aiming at one enemy and there's 2 enemies on the side of them, they're all getting hit by this thing because it is just such a big weapon. Oh yeah, and of course because it's a Great Katana, you do have bleed build up already on the weapon. It might not activate all the time, but it can still come in pretty clutch. But overall this build is just so much fun to play, and even if the Great Katana or this build in general doesn't tickle your pickle, I highly recommend you have to try out the Savage Lion Claw Asher War and another weapon that you might prefer, because it really is up there with one of the strongest Asher Wars in the DLC. Alright, enough of the intro bullcrap, let's jump into the build. I think I've already said it about 10 times in the intro, but we are using the Great Katana weapon. Now the stats required to actually wield this weapon, you're going to need 14 strength and also 18 dexterity. When this weapon is fully maxed out at level 25, the scaling is D for strength and C for dexterity, meaning this Great Katana scales way better with dexterity. Now for the moveset of the Great Katana, with the light attack, you do have some like overhead chops mixed in with some thrusts and some more slashes and chops. It's a pretty solid overall light combo. Now for the heavy attack, when you're just pressing it, not charging it, you do big sweeps in front of yourself. These are really good. This is what I mean by having a lot of cleave and some AoE with the actual Great Katana, is the heavy attack does have such a big slash, and then obviously you can charge up the heavy and you'll just do a bigger version, heavier version of that slash. Has decent poise, not that you're relying on poise with this weapon, but it is still pretty good for staggering enemies. The jump attacks are pretty straightforward. The jump light attack is just a slash in front of you. The jump heavy attack is just an overhead. I much prefer the jump heavy attack, which is much better for taking out annoying flying enemies like any of the pigeons or the grave birds in the DLC. The running light attack is actually really good because it's a massive forward thrust and you do take a couple extra steps before you actually do the initial thrust, so you can clear a bit of distance with the run light attack. The run heavy attack is also just as good. You run forward and do a massive slash. If there's multiple enemies, I do really like opening with the run heavy attack, just because you get that big slash, which is going to cleave a lot of the enemies that may be standing near your initial target. Now moving on to the Asher War, we're only really using one Asher War. In my previous build I did have like 2 to show for you, but Savage Lion's Claw is just too good. It's basically all you're ever going to need. So the way this Asher War works is exactly the same as Lion's Claw. You do the initial front flip slam down on the ground, but now you can follow this up with one additional input and you will do 2 extra slashes. You do like a somersault slash and then another somersault and you finish off with a massive overhead slash. And this usually puts enemies on their hole, literally drops them down to the pavement, except for some tanky elites in the DLC. And maybe in the base game, but pretty much you get this full Asher War off, you're planting the enemy down on the ground. Now with the Asher War, I have taken the Savage Lion Claw and I've just put it on cold scaling. I'm not sure if this is the best scaling for the Great Katana. It seems like it. It seems like magic and maybe Flamer might be really strong with the Great Katana. I have gone cold. It definitely has way more damage than quality, and it has way more damage than just having it in keen scaling, which does put it at Dex at a B. Cold feels really good because you get C in Dex and also C in Intelligence. Not sure if this is the strongest scaling, but it does definitely feel strong when you build into cold or magic affinity. Moving on over to the armor and talismans that we are running with this setup, we do have the white mask. Now, you don't have to have this here if you don't want to. It's just for the odd chance that we do proc bleed. We usually kill the bosses way too quick. The bleed doesn't usually come out and show its ugly head to the boss. But sometimes it can, and when it does, the white mask will give you an attack boost. So I just have the white mask on just for the odd occasion that bleed does actually proc on bosses. But it's only mainly for bosses. You're not really going to get this on mobs or elites. So if you want to wear something else, feel free to. You're not locked into the white mask, but it is there in case we do get bleed. I just have the Rolana's armor. I have the Gauntlets of Solitude, best gloves now in the game, and also the Greaves of Solitude, which are also some fantastic legs that they've added in the game as well. For the talismans that we are running, I'm running the two-handed sword talisman, Shard of Alexander for Savage Lion Claw Asher War, Rotten Winged Insignia, and also Millicent's Prosthesis. Now, if you do want to switch out a talisman for utility or maybe even more defensive options, either take the sword's insignia or the Millicent's Prosthesis out. I feel like the two-handed sword talisman is just too strong to replace, and same with the Shard of Alexander. But you can replace either of these two, but make sure you do still have one of them because they do apply a nice attack boost. For the buffs we are using, it's going to be Golden Vow and Flame Grammy Strength. You can use Howler's Shibriri, but in the level 150 and the level 200 setup I'm about to show you, I don't have 33 faith. You can drop some points out somewhere and give yourself 33 faith, or if you're high enough level, you're probably going to have 33 faith. Just replace Flame Grammy Strength with Howler's Shibriri. It's going to be much better just for your overall damage output. Now for our Wondrous Physick, I'm not exactly set in stone on what I like to take in my Physick. I'm still kind of playing around with it, but I think the Viridian Hidden tier with the Thorny Crack tier seems to work well. This Thorny Crack tier is going to give us more damage for consecutive attacks, and the Viridian Hidden tier is just going to negate all stamina consumption. This is a new one from the DLC. It's very strong, considering Savage Lion Claw is pretty hefty on stamina consumption and FP consumption. So this is at least going to negate some of that stamina consumption so we don't leave ourselves wide open and we can't dodge an attack. But again, I'm not 100% sure what is the best to take with this setup. I was playing around with Stony Bar, but I wasn't noticing the enemies getting staggered any more than if we weren't taking this. So it's really up to you. Feel free to put on whatever you want. You probably take Bubble if you want to be more defensive, but I just thought the infinite stamina for I think maybe 30-40 seconds that this might last for is pretty strong, especially if you want to spam that Asher War. Now moving on over to the stats I would recommend you take for this setup. At level 150, you're going to have 55 Vigor, you're going to have 20 Mind, you're going to have 20 Endurance, 14 Strength, 56 Dexterity, 30 Intelligence, and 25 Faith. And then for the level 200 setup, you're going to have 60 Vigor, you're going to have 25 Mind, 25 Endurance, 14 Strength, 61 Dexterity, 60 Intelligence, and 25 Faith. And then if anyone is over level 200, start putting points into Strength. It will actually increase the damage of the Great Katana because it does have descaling and Strength, even with the cold affinity on it. So it still does get some decent scaling from Strength, but Dex is definitely the way to go if you want to get the most amount out of the Great Katana. Intelligence is just that little cherry on top that gives it a bit of extra bonus damage. And that is basically it for this build video, guys. Hopefully this video did help you guys out. If there's anything you think will improve this build, let me know in the comment section below. I do try and get around to reading and replying to everybody's comment. I think overall bleed might be really good with Savage Lion's Claw. I actually haven't tested that out, so I can't, comment. I'd just be talking out my ass. But I do think that Savage Lion's Claw would probably be pretty strong with bleed. If anyone would like to try that out and let me know so I don't have to respec, that would be fantastic. So I'm running out of fucking larval tears here, man. I should still have loads more build videos coming out for you guys on a few things that I haven't seen too many people touch on, so hopefully I can get to that before other people get to it. Otherwise, it is what it is. Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe. Peace out.